And here we are back at it again with PlayDead Studios. This time we're taking a look at the studio's second and most recent game, Inside, which is a title I cannot say naturally for some reason. Now, I may have known a few minor details regarding Limbo, the aesthetic, the bug. However, I knew next to nothing about Inside, and I mean zilch. I kind of remember it being announced, and it was said to be made by the same people who made this. In fact, the only thing I had any recollection of was this segment with a lineup of people, and you had to run away, but other than that, nada. So I didn't know what to expect from this game, but it certainly wasn't this, because let me tell you now, this game is fucking great. So good, in fact, I feel like I could just end the video here and tell you to go play it. But as you can see, we still have another 15 minutes to go. So I'll just shut up and start talking about what makes Inside so great. Right out the gate, the game hits you with adrenaline as we're dropped into the game without even saying hello. Things seem relatively normal as we ponder about and learn the basics with some simple platforming with nothing but the ambient sound of the pouring rain. Things take a turn really quickly as we have to deal with strange men searching for us and terrifyingly vicious dogs that run faster than Usain Bolt. With all this in mind, you are left with one option. Run. Run. Run, goddammit, run! Run down the hill, run, motherfucker! Run like it's the goddamn Encierro, oh my god, run! Functionally, it should feel familiar, as we have to push objects around and rely on the physics of objects to get to places, swinging on ropes with the right momentum, and knowing when and how to jump a ledge. However, new with this game is the ability to swim, and even dive underwater, adding further depth to this game with some intense underwater segments, and even a layer of exploration for good measure. Just as long as you remember that you cannot breathe underwater, so be mindful of your air supply. Where's the meter? Oh, there isn't one. What, this isn't Tomb Raider, you gotta use your initiative. And as you may have noticed already, the game even has stealth segments. Maybe not to the point I would consider it a stealth game, as it just revolves around getting past enemies and spotlights by knowing when to make your move. It's not the most complex sneaking gameplay, but it does make for some rather intense moments, like having to place Simon Says in a specific sequence, while being surrounded by every enemy type imaginable, or just multiple segments dealing with spotlights, some of which can be a bit of a head scratcher at first, as you'll really need to plan your actions accordingly. I also just wanted to mention this one part where I got caught for walking too long, and the way this guard in the background just came dashing towards me. Ugh, I get goosebumps just talking about it. While on that note, the game's 2.5D is put to good use. 2.5D typically refers to games where gameplay takes place on a 2D plane, while still utilizing a 3D environment to add depth that wouldn't normally be present in a classic 2D game. Certainly the case with Inside, as each area has a lot of depth, and makes great use of the space with the backgrounds and foregrounds. I especially like seeing the various NPCs in the far back every now and then. It makes the game feel more alive. And as said before, enemies come at you from a distance as well, and it is very effective. Terrifyingly so. Like the guard I just mentioned, and also these dogs. I mean, need I say more? Definitely feels like a natural evolution with what was established in Limbo, particularly in regards to the game's central mechanic. Necromancy. Throughout the game, there are these helmets that allow you to take control of various corpses. Not gonna lie, I was taken completely off guard when I saw this for the first time, but it is a creative mechanic, so I welcome it. Especially when the game isn't afraid to get a little crazy with it. Like gathering multiple corpses at a time, creating a whole army as they're willing to give you a hand on more than one occasion. And I will give credit to that puzzle where you had to figure out how to position these two guys on separate pressure pads while simultaneously having to deal with them moving in opposite directions. I also really like this moment here where you're mounted onto the helmet while simultaneously hanging for dear life as this corpse drags you across to safety. It makes for a cool visual, and it's capped off with an interesting moment where said corpse attaches itself to a helmet of its own, showing that even corpses can control other corpses. It's like it's a hive mind of some kind. Very interesting. Getting serious supernatural vibes with all of this makes you wonder how deep it all goes, and how exactly do we factor into all of this. With all the creepy imagery around every corner as you assemble the pieces of what the hell is going on, the game feels like a set piece of Stranger Things within the first 5 minutes. Oh wait, that's not a good thing. Never mind, 0 out of 10, this game's a piece of shit, don't play it. Sarcasm aside, this opening might be one of the most effective openings in any game I've played in a while. Its tense, creepy, and chaotic atmosphere sets the stage for what's to come to near perfection. So what's the story here? Well, once again, the story is mostly environmental, as there are details scattered pretty much everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. I don't think you'll go more than a few minutes without something happening. The game tells its story pretty well for its varying set pieces, as this kid evades his captors after escaping from some sort of facility. Are we trapped in some small town controlled entirely by the suits pulling the strings? Are these environments just part of a facility and we're just getting around it all to locate the source of our problems? Whatever the case, this place delivers on the creep factor very well, and it can be quite intense. And while I wouldn't call it a horror game, I'd be lying if I said the game didn't jump me a couple of times. Once was this segment at what looks like a farm filled with dead pigs, and for the most part you're safe, but then suddenly... Oh my god! And then there was this part towards the latter half where we're inside the facility, and we see this siren girl. When you see her from the window, you think, oh, that's a nice background detail, and not think much else. But then once you're back underwater, all of a sudden, oh no! Stay away, stay away, stay away! Forget jump scares, this is a first-class ticket to an insane asylum. You see me dying to the most simplest of tasks, but that might be due to, oh, I don't know, the damn sea witch chasing after me? Just stay back and leave me alone. No, I'm not taking you to prom. Stop coming after me when I so much as dip a toe in the water. Oh. And you're gonna play creepy music when I do. This is borderline stalker behavior, and I'm not talking the Resident Evil kind, that's for sure. Ooh, that was unhinged. Sorry about that. But it just demonstrates the many feelings I got throughout the whole thing. You remember how I said Limbo was eerie? Well, Inside is straight up psychotic. This game is you being gunned down like a deer, falling even more violently than before, mauled by dogs and a pig, smothered by these guys. There are mountains of corpses everywhere, even some floating underwater here. Great visual, by the way. And we have to deal with being stalked and drowned by a siren. It is a nightmare, but the gold medal for psychotic death absolutely goes to this. At a certain point, you'll reach this room with a lot of banging. What could that be, you ask? I thought it was going to be some sort of caged monster of some kind. Oh, but I was wrong. So once I gathered all the bodies for the necessary pressure to enter the room, this happened. Need I say more? This was without a doubt the segment that killed me the most. You'd be lucky to go more than a minute without the game spilling your guts all over the screen, timing your runs for cover, timing yourself alongside various machinery. This game just pulls one surprise after another with how truly gross and disturbing this whole thing is. For example, you know that pig encounter I mentioned? You want to know how we get past it? We trick it into charging into walls enough to disorientate it, and then we pull a worm out of its ass. That was a sentence. I felt a lot of the same dread during the submarine section. Oh yeah, we can drive a submarine in this game. Another pleasant surprise. And it's a good thing it controls well enough, and even has a charge attack. Well, okay, attack is inaccurate, as you mostly use it to break through walls, but you get the picture. It's like if you took those sub-levels from Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, and you just make it not suck. Of course, it's not all sunshine and daisies, or whatever the underwater equivalent of that phrase is, because look who's here. This is actually our first encounter with her, but the situation is arguably less stressful, as at least here you're not entirely defenseless. As shining some light on her will make her back away, but only a little bit, and you'll have to do that regularly because this girl moves fast. Doesn't matter if you use the charge, she will catch up to you with very little effort.
She's a runner, she's a track star. She gon' run away when it gets hard.
These segments are like puzzles in their own right because you have to figure out the optimal way to escape your pursuer, usually through trial and error, especially in my case. And that's not all, there are also these yellow jumping crates. That was the yellow jumping crate. Next! Okay, I'm joking. These will come up several times throughout the game as well, and once again, the game does some really brain-teasy stuff with them. Occasionally, you'll just need to gain a bit of height to reach a point of interest. In one section, you'll need to contend with two of them to get out of a situation, usually by pushing a button with the right timing. Honestly, I respect the commitment to making a unique and bizarre experience, because I don't think I've played a game quite like this in a very long time, if at all. It is definitely a game you must play to truly experience. No better example than in The Climax. Oh my god, the climax was the most disturbing, fucked up thing I have ever seen, full stop. I am not being hyperbolic. The whole time I was playing, my face just looked like this the entire time. So much to the point that I genuinely think you need to discover it for yourself, because I did not expect any of that. I know I've said that a few times already, but you need to know I am being dead fucking serious when I say this. It is truly a royally fucked up segment of gameplay. No cap, no filter, no added sugar. I'll just give my thoughts on a few separate moments. For starters, there are these portions where we see members of staff around this facility, and there are parts where they're actually helping us with puzzles, which I thought was odd considering the circumstances that got us to that point. And secondly, there's a part where that siren girl manages to grab me in a moment where I initially thought I failed or something, but no, it turns out it was scripted, as surprisingly she actually gives us the ability to breathe underwater. So was she trying to help us all this time, or was that girl entirely different from the one before? Well, in spite of that, it's nice to be given the ability to freely explore the underwater segments for as long as we want without the fear of drowning. And there are even some puzzles that are unique to underwater that definitely wouldn't work on land. And yeah, that's where I'm going to draw the line, as to not spoil it further. However, one more thing I will mention is that the game has a side quest where you can essentially hunt for these glowing orb things that are hidden across the entire game. If you manage to find and unplug all 14 of them, you unlock an alternate ending. Now, normally I try to be quite explorative when playing games, as I like to search my surroundings as much as I can before moving on. So that must tell you just how extremely well hidden these things are, because during my entire playthrough I did not find a single one. Granted, I didn't find out about them until after I'd already finished the game, but even then, when going through my footage, I don't think I ever noticed a single one, at least not in plain sight. So if you feel like you're up to the task, knock yourself out. Otherwise, just use a guide, especially since finding them all doesn't immediately unlock the ending anyway. You have to rewind the game back to this point, look for a secret trapdoor, and then you'll find the ending. Again, won't spoil what the ending is, and while I didn't understand it at first, but now I do, and let's just say, it completely changes everything. So that was Inside. A brilliant game I would happily recommend, and a game I can see myself coming back to if I ever need an excuse not to sleep at night. Now, you probably heard me say near the start of this video that this was the studio's most recent project, which is strange considering it was released in 2016. In fact, come June 29th, it will have turned 10 years old. But why is that? How does a studio release two financially successful games at seemingly low costs and just suddenly go silent? Well, this is in part due to a falling out between the company's two co-founders, Arndt Jensen and Dino Patti. Apparently the two were just not getting along and hadn't been for a while, to the point Jensen sent a letter requesting for Patti's resignation as creative director, and that he would remain on as an executive. Patti caught wind of this, but misunderstood this as a request to resign from the company altogether. Naturally, he was not happy about this, which just led to further miscommunication and animosity between the two, eventually coming to a close when Patti sold his share of the company for 50 million Danish krones, or $7.2 million, and left the company in 2016. The following year, Patti would go on to create his next studio, Jumpship, based in the UK. Now, I'd say the rest is history, but oh no, their story does not end there, because in 2022, Jumpship released their first game, Somerville. While I've personally never played this game, it doesn't look too dissimilar from Inside, so maybe I'd enjoy it someday. Although, the fact the game looks like Inside is apparently not a coincidence, because as of June last year, there is a lawsuit going on between PlayDead and Dino Patti over usage of copyrighted materials. To my surprise, this all started in 2024 when Dino Patti made a post on LinkedIn regarding Limbo's development, and he mentioned some details he wasn't legally authorized to do so. The post itself has sadly been deleted, but it seems this lawsuit is currently ongoing, to the point both Limbo and Inside got removed from GOG.com that same year. Bit extreme, but alright. Apologies for the deviation there. I didn't intend for this to be a retrospective on PlayDead as a whole, but that story was so interesting I couldn't ignore it. Now as for PlayDead themselves, it is confirmed their next game is in development, but not much info has been released yet. It is in 3D though, that much is confirmed, and it's a sci-fi adventure set in space called Rover, but that could be a placeholder name for all I know. For some reason I feel like it will take place on the moon, but I could be dead wrong about that. Whatever the case, I look forward to playing what will be their most ambitious title yet, and like a good man once said, you can't rush art. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video as it was long overdue. Hopefully I won't leave you guys hanging for that long again, but knowing my luck, probably. If you would like to leave a comment telling me your thoughts, that would be much appreciated. And leave a like if you enjoyed, and absolutely do subscribe. Oh, and if anyone's wondering, yes, the Sucker Punch retrospective is still ongoing. I've got one more video planned for a game that came out a few weeks ago, so hope you'll all be around for that. And then afterwards we will return to Sucker Punch with the Sly Cooper trilogy. But until then, I hope you all stay cool and take care.